Hello, my name is Kevin Trango. I'm a physician, and I'm here to talk to you today about the issue of independent medical examinations, and in particular about medical billing for litigation purposes. By way of background, I am, as I stated, a physician, board certified in occupational and environmental medicine, also in internal medicine, and additionally in preventive medicine. I have an MBA from Case Western Reserve University here in Cleveland, and I also had the opportunity to go through a hospital administration program at the University of Washington in their master's level. Today we're going to talk about some Supreme Court decisions that have come down not only in Ohio but also in other states. The Ohio Supreme Court ruled in the Robinson versus Bates issue that payment of a bill and acceptance of the payment did constitute at some point a reasonable charge. However, there have been other decisions in particular by Ninth Appellate District Court here in Ohio that have raised the issue that in order to have a bill payment accepted as reasonable and customary fulfillment for that payment, that a medical expert needs to look at it. This is something I've had the opportunity to do and been involved not only in Ohio, but I've actually been asked in other jurisdictions in other states where there have been actually similar issues brought to the forefront, including Florida, where I'm also licensed. In essence, in order to have a bill that is payable, charges have to be necessary, they have to be secondary to the accident or the cause of event that is at question, and they also have to be reasonable, accurate, and from a financial perspective, usual and customary, meet that definition. There's really two parts to a medical audit and to a bill review. One is the clinical part. The clinical part, as I stated, has to do with looking at the medical records and sometimes examining the individuals, but the very minimum looking at the records and to determine what diagnoses are related to the particular injury or exposure and what parts of the treatment this individual received actually are related to this particular exposure and how much treatment is reasonable based upon a medical opinion. This is the clinical expertise that is needed to do that part of the review. The second part of the review is actually the financial review. The financial review looks at a couple things. One is really what is usual, customary, and reasonable charges for any particular medical service. At the end of the day, it is not unusual to see half of the bills being written off in terms of adjustment for what is usual, customary, and reasonable. The second part of the bill review has to do with additionally looking at what are the auditing errors, which we'll discuss more in detail. In terms of the usual, customary, and reasonable, there are actually several standards that are published and that exist. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, known as CMS, has its own standard that has been issued and is used very commonly. The American Medical Association uses what's called a relative value system, which is also a very well accepted standard. The American Hospital Association, even the American Health Lawyers Association have weighed in and offered their opinion as to what is usual, customary, and reasonable. There are reference guides out there. There are physician reference guides. Some are free, some are on software, some are printed, but there's several that are out there that can be accessed in order to figure out by geographic region, by specialty, and by diagnosis what are the prevailing and accepted charges and what is actually being done in terms of payments. So in addition to the usual customary, one also looks at auditing errors when you look at a financial review. And there are several auditing errors that can occur and typically do occur, I would state, usually in 80 to 85% of the cases. These errors can be in the form of, for example, double billing for only one service, inaccurate billing with the wrong code. Sometimes in surgery, it's billing for people that are not there or billing for the wrong level of person that's there. It's unbundling. In other words, there are usually and customary, there are certain charges during one visit that should be bundled together and presented as one charge. Some providers will unbundle them and have 5 charges, for example. There can be duplicate charges. There can be different charges for exactly the same service on 2 different days. And the list goes on and on. Suffice it to say that probably 80 to 85% of the time, there are billing errors on any particular invoice that is reviewed. So when you look at what needs to be done, we are looking basically at 2 things. We're looking at the usual and customary. We are also looking at the audit errors in terms of the financial part of what is being done. Let me also say that in order to do the analysis of the bill, there are certain materials that would be helpful to have from the very get-go. You can find a complete list and a detailed explanation on our website. But in short, we're looking at both inpatient and outpatient hospital procedures, which means HB 82 and HB 92 form. We're looking at a HCFA forms in some cases, a HCFA 1500 form, and we're looking for what's called EOB, or explanation of benefits. If we can get these things along with the bills, that allows us to do an in-depth analysis and to make comparisons quite easily. So let me summarize and simply say that in order to do a justice to financial review, we need to look at two things. One is we look at the clinical expertise involved in determining if a particular diagnosis is being treated and if it is related to the particular injury or exposure, how much treatment is reasonable, how long the treatment should go on if it's reasonable, and to make sure that there is a connection between the actual injury and exposure and the treatment. The second part is financial review, which has two components. One is usual and customary, which often can be half as much as the actual bills that are requested. And the second component of the financial is looking at billing errors and auditing errors. Thank you very much. And for any more information that is necessary, any more details, please turn to our website and you will find more information, or you can just email us and we'll get back to you. Thank you.